Hello, guys. Welcome to another live. We're going to be talking about the refugee claim process inside Canada. Specifically, what steps you need to take, if you have any questions. Generally, I like to keep my lives more centered around Q&A. So if people have questions, so again, welcome. It's always an informative night when we talk about refugee claims. Just for everyone to know, welcome, Iffy Ani. Thank you so much for liking the live. So just so everyone knows, I'm live on TikTok and YouTube. So both places I am live, and we're going to be having a great chat. Tonight, like I always do, I like to center around Q&As, really. Sorry, give me 1 second. My phone has my makeup on it, and it's a little hard to read things. So yeah, just a few things to remember, guys. First things first is that tonight, remember, anything I say is not meant to be legal advice. And number two, please keep it more centered around generic questions. Anything that comes to remotely near consultation kind of questions, I'm not going to answer. Or I would say that you would need a consultation for that type of question. So we're going to keep it around, more generic questions, and yeah, take it from there. Where am I streaming from? I am streaming from Toronto right now. My main office is in Toronto, so that's where I'm streaming from tonight. But again, remember, guys, I work all over Canada. I work a lot remotely for the rest of Canada, but sometimes I go to different cities as well. And yeah, that's kind of it for me. What can you say about the waiting period? Sure. What do you mean about the waiting period? Like, how long is it going to take for you to go through your refugee process? Is that what you mean? How can I bring a newborn to Canada from Pakistan? Uh, I don't know. They could be an accompanying dependent with a parent. If the parent has some sort of documentation, you would have to apply for it for them as well with the underneath the programs. But yeah, that's essentially it. I'm a little confused with that question. Um, all right. So guys, just to reiterate, I'm also doing a live on YouTube as well. So if you see me looking back and forth in screens, I want to make sure I answer questions if there are any on YouTube as well. Okay. Yeah, the hearing process. Okay, yeah. So the wait time, essentially, if you've been referred oh, sorry guys, I keep clicking things by accident, and I don't mean to invite people to come online, so I really hope I didn't. Still getting a hang of TikTok. But essentially, if you have been referred to the Refugee Protection Division, you are probably going to be waiting a year and a half to 2 years, most likely. Some people I've heard they take a little bit longer, and that kind of depends on their situation, their screening process, if there are some sort of issues, things like that. But that's the most timeline I've seen from people. If someone lived outside Canada more than 5 years, can they come back with PR card? Uh, don't know. Again, guys, just to reiterate, I'm not going to be answering specific questions that are relating to your situation. You're going to need to book a consultation or speak to your counsel for that type of question. Because I can't, I don't know all the details to be answering those type of questions. And remember, guys, I'm not answering, or I'm not giving you legal advice on life. Those are specifically for consultations. Does studying high school as a refugee in Canada affect financial aid, ma'am? That is a question for your financial aid department. I don't know, honestly, because my license doesn't. The the jurisdiction is just immigration. It has nothing to do with the financial aspects. All right. PNP, no express entry, AOR takes so long. Yeah, I've heard that they're taking quite a bit of time now. So yeah, I believe that. What is the role of a psychological assessment on the claim? You don't need a psychological assessment every time. It just depends on your case, right? Sorry, one second. I'm gonna drink some water. Um, the role of a psychological assessment is that it attests to your claim. Like, for example, if you have been tortured, you would deal with a lot of mental health, possibly not everyone, but you might deal with some mental health issues. And okay. Sorry, yes. So if you take a psychological assessment, generally it would support the claim that you might be facing PTSD or some sort of issue. Generally, your therapist, they would be willing, most of them would be willing to assist with this type of hearings with a letter. Just depends on your therapist too, though, because some therapists are they like to maintain more confidentiality, and they give more generic letters. But they would attest to that, right? That you have been dealing with some sort of mental health issues because of what happened to you. Not every case or situation needs that type of documentation. And if you don't have one, does not mean that your case will not be successful. I've had plenty of clients who did not have those type of documentation, and their case was still successful, right? So I told you we needed to talk. I tried to get to you that day. Sorry, Starboy. Starboy. I don't know what you're. What do you? I remember you reaching out, but I'm not sure when you said that we needed. Sorry, I don't recall. So if you want to book a consultation, you're welcome to, and we can have a chat then. All right. Um, so we can talk a little bit more about the hearing process. I think that's a topic that we don't talk a lot about. And I think that's a really important topic, guys. The hearing process inside Canada, yes, it takes some time for you to actually get a booking. Sometimes it's just like a hearing date. Sometimes it's just a matter of a member being assigned. I've had those situations as well where I've reached out to them and I asked, and they said, we're just waiting for a member to be assigned. They're probably overwhelmed with a lot of cases. Um, I know the other divisions, I don't know if necessarily for refugee protection division, but other divisions are overwhelmed. Like they'll have multiple hearings in one day, and there's only so many members, right, to be able to do those hearings. Hi, which level that paper of psychologist can help you? Sorry, can you clarify your question? How long do appeals take from the date you apply? What do you mean that from the date you apply? From the date that you submit the notice, or the day that you send in your appellant record? My understanding is that actually can take some time. Right now there is a high processing time for it. So a year, maybe more. Remember, you're not waiting for a hearing necessarily. you're waiting on a decision from the Refugee Appeal Division, and that might take some time. Rarely do they ever actually book a hearing, but um, from the day, I guess, from the appellant's record, it would take, the estimation I'm seeing is like a year, right? But it also depends on their backlog and what's going on. Again, I say something that's according to right now, but it could be different in a couple of months. Um, what if the background check is completely done and no decision? Well, what level? If are you talking about the Refugee Protection Division? Because if the background check is done, then they're probably just waiting to be able to book you in for a hearing. Um, generally, generally, once the background check is done, and then they can get you booked in with a member. Yeah, those are the two things generally what they're waiting on to book you in. And I say this to everyone, guys. This is really important to remember. I know the processing time is high. I fully understand. I appreciate that it is very much anxiety inducing, but you have to remember, guys, you can continue living your life until a decision is made. You most likely have access to a work permit. You most likely have access. I mean, you can apply for a study permit and you can apply for a work permit. Um, Life can go on until they make a decision, right? And yeah, for me, I submitted my narrative, but it's going to 2 years without hearing from IRB. Yeah, that I do actually. I have seen people wait that long too. People are waiting 2+ years right now with the processing time. I mean, if you have a psychologist evaluation, can you help you in an appeal or after federal court decision? Okay, so I, maybe I need to reiterate what a refugee appeal division and the federal court is. So, federal court and refugee appeal division, um, you're not presenting new arguments. You're not going to be sending them a new psychological evaluation unless with the refugee appeal division, you could not have reasonably gotten that documentation beforehand, or you have like some sort of circumstances that they agreed to, right? You're not presenting new arguments. You are basically saying that there is an issue with the law or fact with the decision that they have made. Same thing with federal court. You're not sending in new information. I don't believe you can, but again, that's for a lawyer to determine, right? Because federal court is just with immigration lawyers. So I'm not sure what you exactly mean when you say can help you in an appeal or federal court decision, because that should have been provided at the Refugee Protection Division. I submit my case in 2023 in November, but a notice of intervene came in September 2025. Yeah, it could take that long. I believe that that's about almost 2 years. Have you had your hearing yet, Rashid? Um, yeah, guys, and I will say this, and I don't mean to be negative about it, but I'm noticing that the ministers are now intervening basically last second. Like, I guess maybe last second they realize, I don't know. I don't even understand why they're intervening in the last second possible. Uh, yeah. So, but I've noticed that with a couple of cases that they last second they're like, oh nope, there's an issue. Right before the deadline too. Um, Can I do an asylum out of the country? The asylum process in Canada is just for inside Canada. There might be refugee programs for outside Canada. We have a couple of those. Um, but no, essentially, Canada, the asylum process, you would have to be inside Canada. And if you do leave the country, it can, well, with Bill C-12, it can be suspended or it can be considered abandoned too, if you return to your country of persecution. So no, you cannot. And also, the portal that you apply through, it gets blocked. You cannot apply for an asylum process, except if you're outside the country. My minister intervention is coming 2025 September, but my hearing is not coming. Okay, so they're just notifying the Refugee Protection Division, basically you, that they're going to be intervening. Um, and I hope they've notified you. Well, they notified you. I'm hoping they notified your counsel as well, so they're prepared for it too. Hello, do you know what's the difference between a regular hearing or a short hearing? Yes, a regular hearing is a longer hearing, and generally they find that in a regular hearing that there are more issues that they need to discuss. So that's what a regular hearing is. A short hearing is for less complex cases, more like straightforward cases. They have a few questions. They need your testimony for something, um, but essentially it's a lot shorter. It's maximum 3 hours. I've seen it done in like an hour, no, 2 hours with everything. It would be done in 2 hours. Hi, our interview was approved 2 years ago, but there has been no progress since then. I'm assuming your eligibility interview was approved 2 years ago, so you were referred to the refugee protection. Is that correct? Sorry, guys, my neck is like really hurting today. So if that is the case, it's probably still in progress. If you're concerned about where the progression is, you can communicate with the Refugee Protection Division, ask them if there's anything that you should be aware of. This is why it's really important to make sure that your information is up to date with the IRCC, IRB, um, and CBSA. So if there is something that they need to reach out to you, they can, right? So if nothing has been reached out, all your information is up to date. Now, I'm not assuming because you should be checking up on your own file, or if you have a counsel, ask them to check up on it. But most cases, you're just waiting for a hearing. 2 years is normal processing time. But again, if you're super concerned, I have not had a problem with Refugee Protection Division to follow up on cases. Majority of the time, it's just a matter of your background or your screening and your there's a member needs to be assigned. Those are like the two issues that I've seen. Do you do PR who is not in Canada? Yes, I do. I do those type of applications too. But I would recommend if you are thinking of a PR, maybe before you speak with a professional. And then, guys, I do encourage this just so you have a good understanding of the type of PR programs we have. Do a little bit of research yourself. IRCC has pretty user friendly pages that you can follow and review and see what type of PR programs we have. And then once you have some of that information, if you want more specific questions answered, you go and speak with a professional. What causes a minister's intervention on a case? I don't know, nonsense. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. No. They generally, I find when they intervene, they have good grounds to intervene. Are they correct in their assessment? No. And they have been proven over and over again that their assessments are wrong. Um, but okay, sometimes they're right. Sometimes there are special circumstances, but sometimes, ugh, just, oh God. I have a few situations where I'm just like, what in the world are they thinking? But that's besides the point. That's maybe another story for another time. Um, what they intervene for, a lot of times it could be things like credibility. It can be inadmissibility, misrepresentation, maybe someone misrepresented their other documents. Remember, guys, anything you have submitted beforehand is also on the record, right? Any type of immigration application you've had. If you, for example, gave fake documents to get to Canada, which, sometimes refugees have been put in that situation to seek safety in Canada, that can be grounds for a minister to intervene. That can also be grounds for exclusion clause. No, not exclusion clause, sorry, but possibly misrepresentation, right? So those type of things can come up, can have a minister intervene. They can intervene to maintain the integrity. Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze, but it's okay. Sorry, guys. To maintain the integrity of the program, sometimes more serious situations like inadmissibility I mentioned before. Um, Totally different type of things that they can step in and intervene in your case. When I did the research, I read for express entry you have to have like 15,000 in your account to come. Is that true? Okay, so that depends. 15,000. Where did you find this information? Um, my understanding is that you have to meet a certain threshold. Now, I will be really honest, guys. It has been a hot minute since I have taken a look at the express entry. My main focus is on refugee right now. Um, but I don't think that's correct. I don't know. I might have a colleague here, Jumoke. I don't know if she's still here. She might be able to answer that. But I don't think that is correct. That does not sound correct to me because I don't think that's anywhere near the LICO or the person's like it depends on the person's situation too and how many people are coming with them. Can I sponsor my kids while I'm PR? Oh, depends. You're on your situation. Again, guys, these are very consultation specific questions, and I did mention this beginning of my life. I'm going to steer away from those. If you guys do have specific questions to your case, please book a consultation because you just writing something like "Can I sponsor my kids?" That depends on a whole different type of things, and we can't go on over that in on a live, right? And also, what I say here is not meant to be legal advice. All right. Can I change my narrative after 1 year refugee claimant? Please answer me. Thanks. No, that's a no and a yes. That could raise a flag of credibility if there's huge changes, issue. They're definitely going to ask you questions. Um, you will have to notify them, explain yourself. And again, they might not accept it, right? If it comes to a hearing and they ask you, well, why are you changing your story? That could be a huge, huge issue. Um, Again, guys, these type of situations, it's very case specific. It depends on what you want to change, and you should be speaking with your legal counsel about these type of questions. How can I bring my spouse here while waiting for a PR? Um, well, they could be a dependent on your PR application, but again, there's different ways that you can possibly bring them, but you would have to, again, consultation, guys. These are very case specific. Let's keep it generic, please. How do you know that your has been dropped or abandoned? Do IRB let you know? If they've okay, so if they've considered your case abandoned, for example, if you didn't attend the hearing or something, they'll send you a letter notifying you that you need to go to a special hearing to explain why why you did not attend the hearing, or um, you have to talk to them. Again, this is why it's really, really important, you guys, that you speak with a um sorry, not you speak with, but you keep your information up to date so they can communicate with you if there is an issue. Now, if you're really concerned, you can reach out to them and see, or you can check your portal if you have access to a portal. but generally they would send you a letter if there is an issue of abandonment and you need to go to a special hearing. Mm. Hello there. Hi, Lawyer of Hope. Welcome. Mine expired. Sorry, what expired? Okay. All right. Hello. When can I extend the work permit? What type of work? Well, I mean, if you're able to extend it, I would say several months beforehand. Uh, Probably I would say 3, 4 months ahead of time. That's kind of like the sweet spot to extend it. Um, 3, 4 months, maybe a little bit sooner if you can. Uttering a document at the embassy is ordinarily an offense. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Lawyer of Hope. Mine expires in November. So you could do it maybe a little bit closer to the summertime. That would be recommended. But make sure all your documentations are up to date, and you're ready to go, right? You don't want to, when it comes closer to that time, like, oh, shoot, I need to like provide new documentation or updated documentation, things like that. What are the possible questions to ask you when you are being called for a refugee eligibility hearing? So, an eligibility hearing, guys, is not going to be as extensive as a hearing. I've had clients who've had different type of experiences. Some of them said like they didn't really ask me anything, just a few questions here and there, and like, cool, you're good to go. But then I have clients who had a very hard time, very, very, very hard time. Um, and I'll say this, but again, this is just my own perspective. It could be totally different. I could, someone might have a different experience. Other lawyers or consultants might have different experiences for their clients. But I've noticed that people have a harder time with the CBSA than the IRCC office. So that means the port of entry. But essentially, they can ask you questions like, why are you seeking protection? Did you ask your local authority? Um, who are you afraid of? Who's the agent of persecution? Generally, they're just determining to see if you are eligible to be referred to the Refugee Protection Division. And they'll ask you other eligibility questions as well, like have you sought protection in another country? Did you go to the US or something like that? It depends on each and individual person, but they can ask you an array of questions to determine your eligibility. And then, if they determine that you are eligible, then they'll provide you certain documentation, and then they'll say you have been referred to the Refugee Protection Division. Do you help with to renew work permit? Yes, I do. I do assist with those. I do those quite regularly, actually. I submitted my PR documents in February 2025 and still no response. What is going on with the process? PR process, guys, especially if it's protected person, it's just taking really long. And it's nothing really you guys have done necessary. Again, this is just a general statement. It could be different for each individual case, but it takes a very long time, unfortunately. They say it's still in background check. Yeah, that's um sorry. I anyways. Yeah, the background check does take quite a bit of time. Can we convert a visitor visa to work? Or other types of, okay, I think you mean other types of visas. Um, Depends on your eligibility, right? if you're eligible. So it really depends. I would say review your. I would say review the eligibility requirements. All right. Let's say that one of my friends applied for LGBT community and is prohibited in this country. Okay. Sorry, I'm just waiting for the rest of your comment. Sorry, I'm not really understanding your comment, so if you can be a little bit more specific, I appreciate that. What are the chances of getting a job in livestock market if I come on visitor visa then? Um, I don't know. I don't know the job market in livestock market. Um, so yeah, and also you should be very careful with that because your intention should be to be here. I would be very careful with coming here on a visitor visa and then because sometimes guys they've found that IRCC has rejected people because they said that, you lied or you misrepresented saying that you want to come on a visitor visa and then you apply for another visa or another type of documentation. So that has happened before. So I'd be very careful with that too. Maybe you just want to apply for, from the very beginning, a work permit to come. Okay. Let's say that one of my friends applied for education community and is prohibited in this country, applies to refugee, so his case is stalled or not. So I'm going to reiterate what I said a little bit earlier too. You might not have been here. I cannot answer that. I cannot answer that because, again, just that little information is not going to tell me if he has a strong case or not, right? Um, and again, I'm not answering case specific questions. So if your friend who should be reaching out himself wants to know if they have a strong enough case for applying for a refugee claim, they can book a consultation. But unfortunately, I cannot answer that question, especially with just one little comment. Like that's not enough indication because there's so much that goes into a refugee claim, guys. It's not just a matter of like being part of LGBTQ community or being, I don't know, another community or a part of a religion. That doesn't determine if you have a case or not. Hi, my portal PR, upload image and address, submit 65 days, not review. Um, Sorry, I'm not understanding your question. Can a person who is out of status for a year apply for a refugee? Um, can a person who is out of status for a year apply for refugee? You might. I've seen people who were out of status and they applied for a refugee claim. But I'm not sure about a year. You might have to book a consultation with someone um, to determine that. It's better to apply for spousal sponsorship than PR under refugee. I already got a hearing. No. That okay, so there is no if it's better or if it's not better. Um, it depends on your case. You also have to realize if you abandon your case or you withdraw, that there's certain consequences to that. But that really depends on your case and what you want to do, right? And remember, a refugee claim is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Guys, if you're ever contemplating between a sorry, my neck is really hurting tonight, guys. A spousal sponsorship or a refugee claim, and you're not sure, I would say have a talk with your counsel before making a decision like that. Um, Sorry, I totally blanked. I was thinking of something else. So, how long does it normally take to go on a refugee claim hearing? Um, a year and a half to 2 years from the day that you get referred, likely. But again, it depends on where, who you are, you applied, and your case, and everything like that too. What is the update on the bill? There has been no update, guys, right now with Bill C-12. Um, so it's still with the Senate. Actually, let me see. Give me 2 seconds. They are supposed to come back to Senate. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, it can happen very soon. Um, the current status is that it's at the second reading at the Senate, so just keep that in mind. Um, can someone who seeks asylum from LGBT community have a child recently? Would that affect his case? No, why? That really depends, guys. Again, these are very case specific situations. Um, no, I don't. I'm a little bit more pessimistic because I can see, for example, if the minister intervenes, that they could use that argument that, and it's happened before, unfortunately. I can't say that they're fully caught up with the times where they find out someone was in a heterosexual relationship, and then they claim that they're LGBTQ, that they might not reject this claim. Because I've seen that in the news, and it did come out that there is some bias and some prejudice in Refugee Protection Division when it comes to understanding the LGBTQ plus community, and how relationships work. It can affect it, but I'm hoping that we've caught up with that kind of stuff, that it doesn't happen again. But again, that really depends. I can't tell you guys if it'll affect it or not because I'm not the decision maker, right? And I don't know your individual cases to be able to determine that. Can a refugee take up to 4 years before a hearing? I've actually heard that has happened to people. Yes. I've heard someone who's waited 5 years and they still haven't gotten a hearing. So it's very much possible. Hello, Brian. Welcome. Yeah. So I think those good. Thank you. How are you? I'm trying to think what else we can talk about. Refugee claim. We talk about the hearing. We talk about the eligibility hearing. We've talked about file review. I think maybe we should talk a little bit about like what are some next steps if, for example, someone is not successful their um, in their hearing. Some of the next steps, and again, this is very limited to your eligibility or not, because you still have to be eligible to be referred to be able to appeal to the Refugee Appeal Division. Um, but if you are not successful and you believe that there was a mistake with law or fact, you can appeal it to the Refugee Appeal Division, and that's very much possible. Um, yeah. Sorry, I'm got a few questions here, but let me finish this thought. So appealing is very much a possibility. Even after appeal, if you find that they have dismissed it, a lawyer can take it to the federal court. Um, to the federal court as well if they find that it's eligible. So yeah, you still have options, guys. There's still legal avenues you can pursue, even if you've been rejected. Okay, so let me see some questions here. Mine has been 2 years plus the security clearing hasn't been gotten from CBSA. Yeah, that's very much possible. Unfortunately, people are waiting 2 plus years. I've seen people who are waiting 2 plus years for a hearing. I got a decision, but my lawyer says he can that I received a decision but can't see the email. It's not an email. It's not an email. The decision doesn't come in an email. It comes in your portal. If you have a lawyer, they should have a My Case portal, or it should be emailed to you. Sorry, not emailed to you. Mailed to you if you don't have a lawyer. I've never had a problem to see the decision. I You would think someone who works. Sorry, I'm not trying to shit on this lawyer at all. But I'm not sure if they have access to the My Case portal or not. They should. Most Pretty much everybody that works with refugees, they have access to their portals. So he or she should be able to log in and um, grab the decision because that's where they upload it generally. And if you don't have a lawyer, they'll mail it to you. Is it possible for your case to be sent to file review in just 2 months? Um, no, not with this process. I mean, yes and no. It can, it's possible, but it might take a while for them to reach a decision, right? Or if they might ask you for a hearing as well. Oh, look, another troll, Georgia Peach. We don't need. Are these just trolls, or is it just genuine people who don't have a life? Like, educate yourself. Sorry, guys, I'm not in the mood with people today. I got a text that pissed me off, so I'm not in the mood. Um, I called IRB and they told me that they sent my decision to my lawyer. My lawyer says he didn't see it. Uh, okay. I don't know what to say to that, to be really honest. Maybe tell your lawyer to go and double check. Again, I get everyone's communication from Refugee Protection, well, IRB in general, through my case portal. So I'm not really sure what to say to that. Yeah, because I don't care how to pronounce your name. You're an ignorant person coming online, writing nonsense. Open a book. Anyways, thank you, Lord, for all the gifts. But again, guys, it's not necessary. I promise you, I will answer the questions. This is something, guys, I say a lot. And it's very much true. I found that with trolls, and I hope you guys don't listen to this utter nonsense that these trolls and these racists come online and say. Um, but genuine, happy people, educated people, do not waste their time to go write utter nonsense online. Like, people with jobs have better things to do. So if you guys ever see individuals like this, they're unemployed, it's pathetic, and they're just racist and xenophobe. So please ignore them. Hopefully they'll find a life. Oh my God, be quiet. Oh. Anyways, so let's go back to real questions. And the reason why I'm not blocking this person, because it's just funny that they're embarrassing themselves. All right. Can a refugee claimant apply for a refugee passport? There is no refugee passport. And I would be very hesitant for you to travel while you're a refugee claimant because, especially with Bill C-12, it can be suspended, or it can be considered abandoned if you return to the country of persecution. So I'd be very careful with that, and maybe uh, communicate with your lawyer if you have one. If you need to leave the country, sometimes, guys, it's a certain situations you might have to, and I would say in that situation, seek talking to your lawyer in those specific situations. Um, uh, Jay Applewhite, I'm trying not to block these people because I find it really amusing when they embarrass themselves. So again, like I said, thank you, Lord, for the hat. Um, Genuine, happy people, people with lives, don't do this. I don't have the time to go and start writing utter nonsense on people's posts or go on someone's lives and write things because A, I'm not a xenophobe or a racist, and B, I'm happy with my life. I don't need to go try to bring people down. And I hope you guys, and this is what makes me a little bit sad. Sometimes when refugees and immigrants see things like this, they get a little discouraged with Canada. And I'll say this, in all frankness, Canada is not without its issues. It's not without our racists or our xenophobes. We have them, unfortunately. There is discrimination in Canada, but it should not discourage you from trying to seek safety, to trying to have a better life. You deserve that. You are a human being. And I always say this, refugees are some of the bravest people I have ever met. You guys are rock stars, because you can't imagine the things that you guys might have gone through. I've worked with quite a bit of refugees, and honestly, the horrendous things that they've witnessed, the horrendous things they've um, dealt with, it's it takes real courage. It takes real courage to start fresh in a new country, and try to seek protection. Every immigrant, I think, is also very brave too. You are brave that you are trying to start new in a new country and make that country better. And that's something that's very plausible. And I hope you guys do not get discouraged by these people. And if you see comments like this, and if you see me not blocking them, is because again, it's entertaining to see people, and you should take it as that entertainment that they're that pathetic. And just know you are welcome here. We genuine good Canadians appreciate you, and we recognize what you bring into this country as well. And I do, and I hope again that you guys, yeah. Anyways, it looks like she effed off. Um. Anyways, there's a lot of TikTok content creator telling people about refugee passport. What in the world is a refugee passport? The only thing that it's okay, again, I think that's a lot of um, 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 immigration influencers that talk. And I think you guys have seen some of my recent posts about immigration influencers. Be very careful, guys, who you are listening to. There is no refugee passport, there is travel documents. But again, I would be very even careful with that, especially with Bill C-12 coming and the changes that they're doing. And they're being very specific that you have to be in the country to seek protection, right? So if you even leave for another country, that can suspend your proceedings. So be very, very careful with that, guys. Again, it's understandable that there are certain situations that people might need to, I don't know, leave the country, but that's very case specific. And you need to be very careful with that. Mm. Okay. That is entertaining. Love it. See? I'm glad you guys think so. Terrible people are just, they're hilarious. Um, okay, generally, what's the meaning of a file review in an IRB cut? So, a file review is IRB, Immigration Refugee Board, or specifically Refugee Protection Division, telling you that they're considering is a very key word here, to possibly accept your case without a hearing. So you don't need to attend a hearing, and the documentation that they're asking you additionally is to help them make a decision without you to go into a hearing. Now, be very careful, because sometimes I think people get a little too excited to think like, oh, that means like I'm gonna get accepted. It's a good sign, or you know, like I'm golden. No, no, bring it down, guys. And I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but yes, it's good in the sense that they might think it's not as complex. But I've also seen later on they might ask someone for a hearing, and then hearings can go different ways, or maybe a minister might even intervene. You're not in the clear if you've received a request for that, because sometimes things are later on also determined as well. If there's, like, for example, an issue of misrepresentation and the minister intervenes, that could happen before your hearing. And I've had cases where they've gotten a file review request and they determined that the individual needs to come in for a hearing. That's very much possible too. Now, luckily, in those situations, they were accepted, but it's still very stressful, right? Because they were thought, oh, like, we're golden, but no, they had to go to a hearing. So that's kind of the gist of it. And it's given to people who um, they believe that it's not as complex. There's no real like issues from what they have determined thus far. And I say thus far because, again, there could be issues later on. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I just want to create you guys a realistic expectation for a file review request, because I feel like sometimes people just get way too excited for them. If I ever get a request like that with a client, I just say, hey, like, it's here. It's a possibility you might not have to go through a refugee hearing, but let's keep our expectations down and be prepared for a hearing, because that's what we do, right? End of the day, as counsels, yes, it's great that we don't have to go to a hearing, but we still have to be very much prepared that our ducks in a row and we're ready to go to a hearing when they call us in. And it's not a surprise if they do, right? I hope that answers your question. I know it's a lot, but thank you, Lord, for all the gifts. I really appreciate it, but it's not necessary. I swear I will answer your questions. But again, it's very sweet of you. Um, what else can we talk about? I feel like fire review again, but and maybe again I want to kind of bring us back a little bit. Thank you guys again for the gifts. I really appreciate it. I do. And you guys are great. But really, I will answer your questions, not a problem. Islam girl, yeah, please, you're welcome to ask, but please keep in mind it has to be generic, because if it's very case specific, I'm not going to be able to answer them, and I can't give you legal advice on here. So that's please keep that in mind. I say that a lot, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, guys, but yeah. While you're typing out your question, I'm going to answer this one. I'm already protected. Apply for PR 2025 March. Can you tell me when I can get my PR card? I'll be really honest. You're probably going to have to wait a couple of years. There are really high processing times right now for PR applications, for protected persons specifically. So anticipate that. I do apologize. It's not up to me. It's up to IRCC. Da, da, da. on. I am going to take a screenshot of something though. Okay. All right. Da, da, da. I think we've covered pretty much most of the issues. I do want to maybe have a couple of sessions about refugee appeal division, guys, because I feel like it's good to be prepared if anything your case ever gets rejected, so you know what your next steps are. I'm going to try making more videos about them. I'm not trying to, I swear, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I am the type of person, and I create my content of like, be prepared for the worst and know what your next stops, because an appeal, you got to move real fast, really, really fast. And you have to have very strong arguments, and even to be heard, you don't want to send it in and then they dismiss the case either. So I think I'm going to have maybe tomorrow's live or something around appeals. If you guys want to come around for that, I'm happy to answer more refugee questions, but that might be good just so you guys can have an understanding of that process too. For a person who got a month ago his PR and processing the PR of my spouse too, who is outside Canada. Sorry, I'm not sure what your question is. Oh my God, why? Since well, TikTok, leave me alone. Sorry guys, this thing popped up. That's saying my live is ending in 5 minutes. How many times I have to wait so that my spouse's PR? For a person who get a month ago his PR and processing PR for my spouse to outside Canada, how I think you mean how long you have to wait? Was it not with your application? Would it not a dependent? Or did you just apply separately? Generally, if they're applied together, it would be together. I'm wondering why it would yours. I've never seen a situation where yours would someone's would. I've seen PR cards come at different times, but I've never seen like the approval come in a different time. So I'm not really sure, to be really frank. Oh, you added him last moment. Okay, gotcha. Uh, mm, you might have to wait a while. I'll be really honest. If it was the last moment, they might have to go through the process again. I'm not really sure. I've never really had anyone be added to a last minute type of thing. I'm not even sure if that's. I mean, I guess if you've done it, it might be possible, but I've never had that situation come up to really be able to answer that. I do apologize. It might come down to that they have to go through the process in time similar to you, which is not the greatest to hear, but it's possible. Hi, so three of my friends went to IRB and asked for a request and a hearing date, and they were given dates. Right on. Um, I've never. Well, to be fair, whenever I've called in to ask, they were still processing their screening, so it wasn't even possible. But uh, yeah, I mean, you can request a hearing in a submission letter as soon as possible type of thing, or say like, you know, it's a straightforward case or whatever, but I've never really been able to get something like that. They must have been very lucky and their screening was done. I don't necessarily think it's them requesting that they got the hearing dates. I think it was just a matter of time that they reached that point for the hearing date and they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to start setting it up for you. Um, yeah, again, they probably had the processing done, and they were able to get a date like that because when I have inquired for this for my clients, they say that their screening has to be done before they book them in. So maybe they were just lucky and they finished the screening. Again, I can't really tell you. I've never gone down there. I try not to, you know, go in there when I never need when it's not needed. So I'm really not sure. The screening can be. That's a very good question. I'm assuming so, or it's a matter of the credibility, but the screening still has to be done. And keep in mind, guys, I've seen to the very last second that something pops up with such with ministers' council with the screening and stuff. So um, can happen last minute too. Like biometrics go through a process as well. So honestly, I'm not too familiar with their screening process. They don't tell us really anything other than they're being screened or not. So I can't really answer that question. All right, guys, it is 7:30. It's been an hour. I gotta get home. So have a wonderful day, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and please stay positive. Ignore xenophobes as much as possible. Um, and if you guys require consultations, you know where my information. Well, if you're new, my information is on my bio. Link to book a consultation, or if you're not sure, you can send me an email, which is again on my bio and my phone number as well. And guys, stay safe, stay warm, have a wonderful evening, and I will see you guys for tomorrow's live as well. But I might be centering around more refugee appeal division. But let's talk about that because that's important too. It's better to be prepared. Sure. One last question. Just because you asked nicely, go right ahead. No problem. Go ahead. That means before